Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job.
Welcome to Liberty Report USA. Let's take a look at what happened in the Senate today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, I want to start off where we left off last time. I asked you whether you had any knowledge or discussions about removing FBI officials and installing political personnel before you were confirmed to that position. And I wonder, did you then understand or have conversations with the White House about the intentions to do so?
Before I was confirmed?
Yes, sir.
Did I have discussions with the White House to remove FBI personnel?
Yes.
No.
So you're saying that you had no discussions with the White House before you were in the position about the removal of any personnel from the agency?
As I was preparing for my confirmation hearing, I had numerous discussions involving the type of people that would be employed and that those that were failing to meet the mark at the FBI would no longer be employed if I were confirmed. And I'm assuming
that mark had to do with loyalty to the Trump administration?
No, you're wrong.
Okay. I'd like to revisit another subject from that hearing. Did you testify, you did testify before the grand jury that President Trump had declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Is that correct?
I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. Whatever it says is the best evidence.
That's what you said to Senator Whitehouse, that your grand jury testimony was publicly released. It has not been. In fact, in July, a court denied a news outlet's bid to get that transcript. But the court said quite clearly that you are free to discuss your grand jury testimony. So I ask you again, did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified document case?
And that is why I took your invitation to work with the department and the court to have that transcript released. And the transcript is the best evidence of what I said then.
So you're saying right now this committee can have access to what you said before the grand jury?
To whatever was released. Under my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice...
You and I both understand the law. Let me finish. I understand under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Procedure, a grand jury witness, in this case you, is not barred from sharing their grand jury testimony. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question right now?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate, and
there is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a
Patel,
transcript,
during
you can
your
read
nomination
the question, but you don't have it.
You promised that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked you, are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with the Trump administration, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with criminal investigations of Donald Trump. I don't believe you were truthful. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases that they are investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and you know that. A new lawsuit that's been discussed numerous times, filed by 3 FBI officials, alleges that you carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution, in quotes, against FBI employees for, quote, failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. One of those plaintiffs has been discussed today, Brian Driscoll. Now, we know 20 years of distinguished service to the FBI before you terminated him. Special agent in charge of FBI's Newark field office, where he operated with distinction. Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery awards. He's a patriot. You terminated Driscoll via a letter dated October 8th, 2025. And in that letter, you said that you were firing him pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. Well, you're not the President of the United States. And so I'm wondering under what authority you were allowed to terminate him.
That matter is under litigation, and I'm not able to discuss it.
Okay, well, discuss this. Did you have discussions with Stephen Miller about firing this particular person or about his continuance in the FBI?
Not that I recall.
How often do you speak to Stephen Miller?
Frequently on our Homeland Security task forces.
You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about subjects other than Homeland Security task force issues, correct?
I frequently talk to Mr. Miller about Homeland Security task forces.
Has Stephen Miller ever given you his opinions on how to run your agency?
Mr. Miller's interagency operations are invaluable to the success of the FBI. That's what we talk about.
So you frequently discuss your job and your responsibilities with Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi, I imagine, as well.
Absolutely. She's the Attorney General.
Understood. Okay. Donald Trump promised to make us all safer. You have pushed out senior FBI agents with decades of knowledge and experience. In fact, this is the first time in FBI history that neither the director nor the deputy director have any experience with the FBI. You've shifted the agency's priorities primarily to pursuing Donald Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. According to ICE data, the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank, found that 20% of all agents have been diverted from their work to assist ICE immigration enforcement. 20%. Part of this operation is the work of mass law enforcement who jump out of cars, snatch people off streets at churches, schools, and their jobs and hospitals. Have there been any FBI agents who investigate crimes against children that have been assigned to immigration enforcement, yes or no?
The premise of what you say is entirely
Have there been
false.
any FBI agents who investigate foreign domestic terrorism?
You don't get to say America is not safer under this leadership.
I am not saying
America
that.
is safer because of the work of the FBI.
You're making a presumption of premise.
4,700 children.
Sir,
we have seized 6,000 weapons and
you are not
23,000 violent felons have
that
been
FBI
arrested.
agents who investigate human trafficking have been reassigned to immigration enforcement. You are not denying that FBI agents who are on the task force that fight against Russian oligarchs have not been reassigned. Public Corrections Squad reassigned. People who defend children reassigned. You're not denying that. I've seen you time and time again attack my colleagues' premises of questions as a way to not answer the question. So let me end with this. I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe. I believe that we are more vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. You've gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise. You fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience, and were working on cases that were critical. You've been purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards in order to find anyone to replace them. And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of their mission-critical work. You've disbanded entire task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence, public corruption. And who benefits from this? Well, corrupt people benefit from it. Criminals benefit from it. Vladimir Putin benefits from it. And it really makes me wonder who you're looking out for. It makes me think we can't trust you as a nation. You swear to release the Epstein files, but now you're withholding the Epstein files. You claim that you have a suspect in a serious assassination. Whoops, then you don't have a suspect. You know nothing about plans to remove FBI agents, yet you're directly involved in those plans. In the words of an ex-FBI official, you are overseeing, and I quote, generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. Mr. Patel, in just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to head the Bureau, but here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes,
at this
sir.
point?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this
to
country.
not take
Senator Booker,
responsibility
it's my time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making a
time is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
you
time
tell-
is.
Senator-
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you. sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth, talking over each other, doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond, and he has the privilege to do that uninterrupted.
Mr.
So
Chairman, one point of
go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to get our questions out.
Well,
he has been rude and disrespectful to senator after senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the FBI, under my 7-month leadership, were failing this administration in this country, why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone? A double increase from that time last year. Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we have 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year? 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 7,000 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we're taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space that relates to Iran, and we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.
Before Senator Cruz, I kind of feel like a broken record today. All this interest in FBI termination, yet my colleagues showed no intent or interest in when my whistleblowers suffered retaliation over the past years, particularly the past 4 years. Indeed, one whistleblower has alleged that Brian Driscoll's insubordination, whether an agent is on a hot button case or not, they ought to be held accountable for misconduct and weaponization. Senator Cruz.
In the final moments of this hearing, as Senator Cory Booker's voice rose above the room and Director Patel bristled in response, something unmistakable happened, something that went far beyond an argument between two men. It was a collision of worldviews, a collision of distrust, power, and two radically different visions for American leadership. Booker accused Patel of dismantling the institutional backbone of the FBI. Patel countered by insisting he had strengthened it. And as both men spoke over one another, Chairman Grassley was forced to intervene, reminding the room, and perhaps the nation, that the Senate floor is supposed to be a space for order, not chaos. But order was not what we witnessed. We witnessed something raw, something revealing. Because this wasn't just a disagreement about personnel or policy, this was a reckoning. One that exposed the political fractures running straight through the heart of the American system. When Booker pressed Patel on alleged plans to remove career FBI personnel, his questions cut to the center of a fear that has haunted this country for years. The possibility that federal agencies could be reshaped not by mission, not by merit, but by loyalty. Booker invoked decades of service, agents with careers built on quiet, unseen work, and warned that removing them didn't just alter the Bureau. It threatened its memory, its continuity, its ability to function as a stabilizing force in times of national uncertainty. Patel pushed back with numbers: arrests, seizures, cases broken open, networks disrupted. He spoke of results, measurable achievements, the kind of metrics that a leader under fire reaches for when the room turns hostile. He laid out his case with urgency, that his leadership had not weakened the FBI, but strengthened it, that the headlines were wrong, that the accusations were political, that he had honored his oath. But the hearing revealed something deeper, a crisis of trust. Not just between Booker and Patel, but between America and its own institutions. Because when a senator can look the FBI director in the eye and claim the agency is weaker, less safe, more vulnerable, and when the director responds that he has delivered record results, both cannot be true at the same time. Someone is wrong, someone is right. Or perhaps the truth, as it often does, lives in the uneasy space between. What matters is what the moment exposed. A country where even the basic question of whether institutions are functioning has become a partisan battlefield. A country where accusations of political influence, retribution, hidden motives, and divided loyalties hang over every hearing like fog. A country where leaders no longer merely debate policy. They question each other's legitimacy. As Booker spoke, the emotion in his voice made clear that this wasn't a performance. It was frustration. Frustration that he believed Patel was dodging, deflecting, refusing to answer the simplest of questions. Frustration that the bureau he had worked with, trusted, and defended now stood at the center of a national controversy over leadership, priorities, and allegiance. And frustration that he believed America was becoming more vulnerable, not less. Patel's anger carried its own message, that he felt unfairly targeted, that he believed his work was being misrepresented, that the narrative around him was one-sided, political, weaponized. Two men, two realities, one government trying to function under the weight of both. And then came the moment that will linger long after the microphones are switched off. The moment Patel accused Booker of dividing the nation, and Booker fired back with the fury of someone who felt wronged. Grassley had to break them apart, reminding the room that senators do not tell one another when their time is up. It was a reminder of hierarchy, of decorum, of the old rules, rules that seem weaker now, harder to enforce, as tempers rise and tempers flare. In that instant, the Senate chamber transformed into something symbolic. Not a forum, not a hearing, but a mirror reflecting the tension in the country itself. A tension between those who believe institutions are being dismantled and those who believe they are being reformed. Between those who fear political influence and those who insist the real danger is inaction. Between those who see corruption everywhere and those who see obstruction. And yet, beneath all the heat and outrage, the hearing revealed something else: the stakes. Because this wasn't a debate about bureaucracy. It was about trust. And trust, once broken, is far harder to rebuild than any agency or department. Tonight, as the echoes of that confrontation still hang in the chamber, one thing is clear. America is in a moment where the institutions meant to protect it are now the subject of the fiercest political battles, where leaders must decide whether their loyalty lies with a party, a person, or the Constitution itself. Where the public is left to sort through conflicting narratives, contradictory testimony, and competing claims of patriotism. But the final message of this hearing is also the most important. Democracy is not maintained by perfect leaders. It is maintained by leaders willing to be accountable, willing to face scrutiny, uncomfortable questions, and public challenge. The chaos you witnessed was not pretty. It was not elegant. But it was real. And sometimes real is the only path toward clarity. As viewers, as citizens, we have a responsibility to watch moments like this not as spectators, but as guardians of our own democracy. To listen closely, to question boldly, to demand transparency, integrity, and truth, no matter who is in power. Because the American story has never been written by those who stay silent. It is written by those who refuse to look away. Thank you for watching. Stand with us as we continue to shine a light on the moments that define this nation. Support our work. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA.